buttons on it?
Yes.
You have to have the buttons off your other cardigan.
I didn't like those. I want some like my sister's.
Well, you can have the ones off your sister's cardigan when she's grown out of it. In fact, you can have a cardigan when your sister's grown out of it.
Most of the walls, it's cold out there.
Yes, I know.
Well done. In the 1950s, Britain was still recovering from the effects of the war. We felt really lucky to have a roof over our heads, as thousands of houses had been destroyed during the bombing, and lots of people had to move in with their relatives.
I was born in a back-to-back terrace house in Leeds, and it was a very dark house, and so we didn't have a backyard, let alone a garden, and my pram was pushed out onto the pavement. And my sister Susanna, she used to play with all the neighbours, with all the children from the neighbours.
Our parents lived in that house until 1950, and then we were offered a prefab. Some people said prefabs were just like boxes, but my mum, she thought she died and gone to heaven. Down in the jungle, living in a tent, better than a prefab, no rent.
Prefabs were wonderful. I mean, we had a fridge instead of a larder. You had a garden where you could hang your washing out in the summer. You could even sit out there in the summer in a deck chair if you had the time.
And don't forget, you could grow your own vegetables. And anyway, 3 years later, the council moved us to a brand new council house. Of course, the prefabs were only supposed to be in the short term. But you know, there are still some people living in them today.
We all got our letters the same day, so we all went out in the street to see who we'd be living next door to. I'm at number 52.
52?
Yep.
Oh, shame, I'm at number 75.
Oh, Sue.
Oh,
Not neighbour anymore.
Oh,
So we just have to meet down the shop.
Oh, down the shop, see you later.
Yeah. It was really exciting moving into a new council house, semi-detached and everything, and we all knew our neighbours really well, and so even if we couldn't afford to carpet the stairs.
When we moved house, our dad, he put all our utility furniture on some cart that he borrowed from somewhere. And he pushed it through the street. Can you imagine? Oh, the shame. It was awful.
Come on, girls, keep up. Don't want to lose you.
Embarrassing as when he followed the rag and bone man and picked up manure. Oh, hang on that ball, hang on that balls.
But only if those dropped it outside of your house. I mean, if it was outside the neighbours, it was theirs. I mean, fair's fair. But, cool, he didn't have to bring on the roses night, did they, girl?
Oh, Dad. And do you remember, if you had any old clothes or anything, and you saved them and gave them to the rag and bone man, he'd give you a balloon. And sometimes, if you were lucky, you'd get a fish, a goldfish in a bag. With some water.
My goldfish lasted much longer than yours. Mine lasted 2 weeks.
Girls.
They only lasted about 5 minutes.
Quiet, girls. Come on. Dad's got to do the pool.
Oh.
Arsenal 0, Swansea City 2. Fulham 0, Tottenham Hotspur 3. Liverpool 1, Southampton 0. Manchester City 1, Everton 1.
I
It's
remember
Rangers
nearly
1,
nodding
Aston
off
Villa
while Dan
1.
was doing the football.
Reading against Manchester United, late kick-off.
Listen, girls, when I win the pool, I'll buy you both a balloon.
Oh, all right.
Oh, I used to love the wireless. Housewife's Choice used to help me get through the chores every morning. Wonderful.
Well done.
Do you remember, before I started school, in the afternoon we used to listen with Mother? Do you remember?
Yes, we did.
Oh, that was lovely.
And what about Mrs. Dale's diary?
But what about what you used to say before Mrs. Dale's diary?
Yes, Mrs. Dale. She was the doctor's wife, wasn't she? She was always saying,
I'm worried about Jim.
Come on then now, let's see off.
The flat in Victoria with my parents, and it was just after the war, and everywhere was covered in bomb sites because you see we were near the station and the Germans had targeted stations during the war. Lots of people came to Victoria looking for work.
I lived in a London flat too, in Chelsea. It sounds grand now, doesn't it? But it wasn't in the 1950s. It was an old red control flat, and the London Underground used to go right underneath, and every time a train went by, all the building used to shake, and all the crockery used to rattle. Wait, fire!
Oh, and also, when in this flat in Victoria, we had the lavatory was upstairs and separate from the flat, and it was one of those big square ones, wooden square ones, and I used to hop up on the seat to pull the chain, and the man upstairs used to come and help me. I didn't think it was odd then.
We didn't have a bathroom. We used to use a tin bath in the kitchen.
Splish splash, I was taking a bath. Home about a Saturday night. Rub-a-dub, just relaxing in the tub, thinking everything was alright. Well, I stepped out the tub, put my feet on the floor. I went to town.
Our lavatory was outside the front door, and we had to go up 3 steps, and we used to have to share it with the people in the next door flat.
Bit five, you forgot your love paper.
Oh. We had 3 rooms, my bedroom, kitchen, and a front room that used to have to double up as a bedroom for my mum and Greg, who used to have to share a double bed.
What's he saying about us now? Our flat was on the 2nd floor, and when the coal man came, he had to climb these stairs with 100 loads of coal on his back. Oh, I think he's coming traipse along the hall and into our kitchen. Oh, here he is. Wipe your feet,
Morning, lady.
wipe your feet.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wipe that wall, wipe that wall.
Right, I'm carrying this up downstairs getting mown down as well.
Oh, I love that dusty, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, we'll have to get the dust now.
Oh, dear. What is that? Oh. Have you done?
Yeah. See you next week then, ladies.
All right, I'll see you out.
Thank you.
Shut that door. We never had no central heating in those days. No, we had a coal fire when it was cold, and it used to keep us families together, you know.
Yeah, but there was no wet washing.
Oh.
Sit down, Graham.
It's always smells of coal fires.
Oh. It always warms his bum, doesn't it? Oops.
How's the
Coal
coal
fires
fires?
in those days.
Coal fires in the 1950s.
No tumble dryers then. Cigarettes and cigarettes.
And wet washing.
And cigarettes.
And mothballs. People used to put mothballs in all their winter coats.
And cigarettes.
Wham, vim down the laugh. Yeah, that was
And
horrible.
cigarettes.
And cheese!
And cheese.
Cheese.
Yeah, cheese. Because we had mice. I used to come up from the London Underground and I used to have a mousetrap set under my bed permanently with a small piece of cheese in it.
Cheese? Oh, that reminds me, we better go shopping. I'll see if I've got any ration books. See what I got in my ration book.
Come on, you girls.
It's my turn.
Don't stop spotting.
She won't pay.
Let's go.
It used to be mine. It was mine before it was hers. Yes.
Are you in the queue?
Yeah, we're in the queue. Well, it was very extravagant to put cheese in mouse traps at that point because it was still on ration. And we had to go to a special corner shop to collect our rations.
Oh, yeah, do you remember the cheese used to be cut off a big cheese with wire? And do you remember that the lady that did it, she could never get the amount just right. And she
She cut off too much. She cut off the extra and then she
People shop most days. We had to queue for everything. We had to queue at the butchers, we had to queue at the greengrocers, and we had to queue at the bakers.
Oh, bakers! I remember the bakers, Mummy. Do you remember? I went in there and you asked for 6. No, you asked for 5 buns, and I said, no, you asked for 6 buns, and I said there's only 5 of us in the family. And what a pain I must have been.
Yes, you were.
My grand used to take me shopping, and whenever she wanted to buy a new hat, she made me try them on till she could find one she could choose.
That's the one for me. That's the normal.
It took a long time to buy everything my mum needed, but I liked my mum's dinners.
Oh, and I loved my mum's cooking. It was lovely. But you know, you could always tell which day of the week it was because on Sunday we'd have roast, on Monday we'd have meat pie, and on Tuesday we'd have stew.
And don't forget fish on
yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
Fish. The smell used to go right through the house. You had to sit down at the table and eat everything that was put in front of you because manners were important.
Women bought the food, cooked the food, dished up the food, and then washed up. Nobody else has agreed with me.
And washed up, everybody needs to agree.
Yes, every day.
Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, I remember that.
But the men expected that anyway, because we were normally the people who went out to work and had a paid job. Where's my dinner then?
When you've got friends and neighbors, all the world is happier place. Friends and neighbors, put a smile on the gloomiest face. Just take your little troubles and share 'em with the folks next door. Makes it twice as easy to bear 'em. That's what friends are for. 'Cause if you friends and neighbors
Good feasting, because we all drink herbal tea. We're happy girls and boys. We are the herbal tea, little girls and boys. Make your request, we'll not refuse you. We are here just to amuse you. Would you like a song or story? Will you share our joys? And give the sport with more than fever. Merry our children, good feasting, because we all drink herbal tea. We're happy girls and boys.
Do you remember those really, really cold winters? And when we used to jump out of bed onto the freezing lino and then run them downstairs quickly to get dressed for school in front of the fire? You know, I think that some of my friends used to wear their school clothes to bed because they always had a bit of a funny smell about them. I don't think I smell. I had a bath every week.
I used to get dressed in bed, and I used to wear a lifty bodice and a vest and lots and lots of clothes. And my mum used to rub Vic on my chest to keep the colds at bay.
And boys wore shorts, and girls wore gym slips or skirts, and even with long socks on in winter, we all got chaff knees.
And we girls used to wear pixie hoods like this, and boys used to wear balaclavas.
We used to walk to school, but if it was raining, Mum would give us a few pennies to catch the bus. But usually we walked to school anyway, get wet, and then save the pennies, and then we could get blackjacks or penny apples. Well, Mum always said, an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Well, my mum, she tried to keep us healthy by giving us hot porridge, or she used to give us healthy fried bread, and then a spoonful of cod liver oil, and then some broken biscuits for playtime. Oh yeah, let's go.
The big ship sails on the alley, alley-o, the alley, alley-o, the alley, alley-o. The big ship sails on the alley, alley-o, on the first day of September.
Come on, Meg, sit beside me. You can have a book. Well, I'll sit there.
On my first day at school, the classroom was full of toys and jigsaws and sandpits. And I had a lovely time playing with them all. And then on my second day, the classroom was bare. And it was plain, it was obvious we were there to work. So out came the Janet and John books.
Come on, that page. Come on. Look, Janet. Look, John. See the aeroplane. Go up, up. Look, Janet. Look, John. See the aeroplane go down, down. I loved reading, but I didn't like like writing from the blackboard, especially when we had ink and splatter everywhere. But then I was made ink monitor, and I had to fill all the ink wells. Some naughty children used to put blotting paper in theirs.
I never liked to go out to the toilets because they were horrible, smelly old things, and you had to put your hand up, and I didn't like it at all.
You were supposed to go at playtime, weren't you?
Yes, the edge you had to go then.
I used to sit next to a girl came called Pat. She used to wet her knickers. And one day, she sat in my place and said it was me. And Tommy Edmonton had to get the mop and mop it up.
Toilets were all.
Oh, but school toilets were awful and smelly, and they were outside, and I didn't like it at all.
Well, you supposed to go at playtime, weren't you?
Yes.
I used to love playtime though, but we weren't allowed to go out to play till we drank our milk.
Here, look. He's up his head. Yeah. Here.
It was horrible. It was freezing cold in the winter and all icy, and then in the summer it was all claggy and my straw used to unravel and the stick and that. It was horrible.
Do you remember that even in the coldest winter, we had to go outside and play? But if it snowed, we were allowed to build these slides, and the snow would turn to ice, and it was brilliant. We could slide all across the playground. Whee!
Boy, teachers didn't seem to be very worried about health and safety in those days. They'd just stand on the edge of the playground, drinking hot tea and smoking.
And we also had this metal climbing frame at our school. Boy, that was really, really popular. The trouble was, there were no soft surfaces underneath it, so if you fell off, you really hurt your knee. My knees were always covered in these big scabs, but they gave you something to pick at. Oh, lovely!
And my mum used to put lint and iodine and all sorts of, and then a luster-post on it, and it would stick and it would last for years and years and years.
Stupid.
Well, months anyway.
We had marbles and pookers and jacks, and we had 5 stones, and they were played just like jacks, only they were cheaper to buy because they weren't made of metal.
Yeah.
We played Run with the Sunsets and Queenie, who's got the ball? And hopscotch.
And don't forget it. That was another good way, wasn't it?
Bags and shoes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes, come on.
It isn't your turn.
Yes, it is. Come on.
Got to do it.
Come on. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4, 5 potato, 6 potato, 7 potato, 4.
on the first whistle, you had to stand absolutely still. And then on the second whistle, you'd walk into line. Everybody did as they were told. Discipline was very important.
Or fear.
The respect was already
The respect was already there.
Or fear. I used to get the cane for being late. Sorry.
I was so frightened my head.
Oh, yes. I was so frightened of my headmaster, I used to ask my mum if I could stay home from school. Oh. I used to get the cane for being late, but I used to go in the cloakroom and warm my hands on the pipes. It didn't seem to hurt as much. And I got the cane for missing church.
I got the cane for not filling the whole of my page with the sum.
When the girls got into trouble in our class, the teacher just got them to sit in a corner. And you know that a lot of the time, they seemed to forget all about them, because the classes were so big. At least when the boys got a cane, it was over quickly.
You'd have thought the parents would have complained.
You didn't dare tell your parents when you got home, otherwise you'd have got a good hiding as well.
Happy days!
School assemblies, I expect you remember some of yours. One of mine stands out vividly in my memory. When we were in class, a lot of my friends and I were big Buddy Holly fans, and we were terribly shocked to learn that in February 1959 he'd been killed in a plane crash. Now, we all normally used to wear regulation striped ties, but on the day after we got the news, a few of us wore black ties into assembly. We thought the headmaster was going to blow his top, but instead, he praised us for our respect.
There's not a cloud to spoil of you, but it's raining, raining in my heart.
In 1954, the education people raised the school leaving age to 50. Most children took an exam called the 11 plus. This was designed to see whether you would stay in a secondary modern school or go on to a grammar school.
Or private school, if your parents could afford it.
Oh, when I took my 11 plus, I was really, really nervous. Even though we'd been practicing it for months.
Some of the parents bought their children a book like this, the home test for the grammar school entry. Let's just try some of the questions, so. Right. If Mary is twice as old as Tom by all but 3 years, and she is 17, how old is Tom? Brian.
Too young to be going out with Mary.
Now, if father is 5 foot 6 inches tall and the door is 7 foot 6 inches high, how far is there between the top of the door and his head? Suzanne?
Depends if he's wearing his bowler hat or not.
If stair carpet costs 5 shillings and 6pence a yard, how much shall I have to pay for 10 yards? Margaret?
Oh, too much. Buy lino instead.
Anyway, when I passed my 11 plus, my mum worried about how she was going to pay for my uniform.
Oh, I loved my school uniform, and my hat, and my blazer, and my skirt, and everything about it. Hey! I'll get his attention if I'm seen in the road with my hat off. And I used to swing it round though, on the elastic.
Luckily, I was 5 foot 10 inches tall when I was 12, so I didn't have to wear a school cap at all. I had a permission slip from my headmaster, which meant I didn't have to wear it, and I took great delight in waving it under the noses of the prefects when they used to have a go at me on the bus for not wearing my school cap.
I remember when I went to the senior school, we had to kneel down in the hall like this, and then they would measure to see where the skirt was, and it had to touch the floor. If it wasn't touching the floor, you were in trouble. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm just answering this bit.
There's a girl came to our convent school. Her skirts were up there.
Oh.
And you know what sister did? She pinned a crepe paper frill all around the bottom. And then she said, "Don't you come back until our skirts are that way."
We were taught by nuns as well, and we used to think they didn't have legs. We thought they went everywhere on casters because they seemed to glide around with their arms folded.
We had domestic science classes at our school, but before we could do any cooking, we had to make our own apron, which was all edged in bias binding, and we had to do it all by hand, and I was left-handed, and so it took me so long to do it, and it was so messy and grubby by the time I finished. It took me about a year to make it anyway.
Well, it took me a year to make a pair of knickers. They were green, and I hated them, and I've never seen them since. I think my mother used to use them as a...
Roses are red, my love. Violets are blue. This pair is green, my love. Do they belong to you?
At least nobody could see them.
We didn't have domestic science. We were supposed to have a domestic.
She didn't have any.
Oh.
Smell the coal. Yeah. We had to learn to scrub all the wooden tops around the sinks. Scrub in the way of the grain, girls. Do it in the way of the grain.
No,
I think I must have run away that day.
And when we were in cookery, we had to learn how to make a sandwich.
Oh.
It was silly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then, next time, we had to write about it.
But we went on to make exotic things like macaroni cheese. Only my dad reckoned he could have used mine to paper the walls.
At our school, none of the lady teachers taught science. So if you wanted to do science, you had to go up to the boys' grammar school. And lots and lots of girls chose to do science. But I don't think the boys came to our school for anything.
The boys' school was right next to ours, and we used to talk to them through the railings and pass them notes. we learned more about sex education in the playground than we ever did from our mum.
The matron used to tell us about sex and we used to giggle all night in the dormitory about it, didn't we?
Yeah, I remember learning about amoeba and hydra. And then I think they learnt about the rabbit, but I think I gave up there because I didn't want to chop a rabbit up.
Did you say chop a rabbit up? Wow, Can you imagine? I'll hold it up here. Great! We went to an all-boys grammar school, and all we ever learnt about nature was leaves and flora. How deprived was that? Oh, imagine getting a rabbit to cut. Oh, brilliant.
People often say that school days are the happiest days of your life. Do you think they are?
Well, of course.
Yes.
Susanna, well, when I became a weekly
Sorry.
boarder, stand up.
Well, when I became a weekly boarder,
Stand up.
all the girls were horrible to me and I was really, really unhappy. But after the first term, when I wasn't a new girl anymore, I loved it.
Meg,
No, it's me next.
Meg.
I didn't like to do PE because we had a male teacher and he always seemed to be hanging around when we were changing in the changing rooms. I didn't like it.
I used to get schoolitis a lot. Tell my mum I had earache. She couldn't see earache, so I'd say, I got earache, mum, and I could stay home from school. Just used to get a bit panicky, really.
Barbara? I hated it when the teacher walked around the class.
I hated it when the teacher used to come round and watch you work. They'd stand behind you and they couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden you get a poke in the middle of your back and told to get on with it.
But
Linda,
I
we're in the wrong order, that's all.
had
Was voted.
I was voted form captain.
I was voted form captain because all the gang of girls thought that I would be easy to. I would do exactly what they wanted.
do you think that school days are the happiest days of your life?
Of course!